The hunt for Chicago's deadliest serial killer by Tommy G. I'm sorry. By Tommy motherfucking G. The top deadliest serial killers, a lot of motherfucking killers in Iraq. So, is that like currently going on like right now? Let's see.
50 unsolved strangulation cases that could be the work.
Chicago Strangler. Oh, so it's like a serial killer going on. He's strangling women. Hey, to all my drenches, splackers, and ball players in the motherfucking Iraq, why don't y'all like find this nigga like face his ass? Like why y'all over here shooting at each other? Why don't you try to find this nigga collectively and hit this nigga with a Drake or some shit? Instead of hitting other niggas with Drakes and kids and shit, find this nigga him with a Drake. In the face too. Like stand over his shit. I'm telling you, folks.
Of a serial killer.
Dozens of women who were all strangled or asphyxiated. Their cases remain unsolved.
Serial killer on the loose in Chicago.
A lady by the name of Tamala Edwards was found in 2210 in a garbage can just like this in this alley 20 years ago.
Their bodies were found in vacant lots, abandoned buildings, and alleys, dumped in garbage cans, and some even set on fire.
Why do you think they specifically targeted your mom?
Have you ever been abducted?
Yes. He killed so many women, he don't know how many.
Is there one of these killers that you think is doing the lion's share of the killing?
Yes.
In today's episode, we are investigating the infamous Chicago Strangler, a killer who some experts say has taken the lives of between 50 and 70 women over a nearly 2-decade period, making this person one of the most prolific serial killers in American history. The killer's MO seems to be this. He tends to hunt primarily black women, many of them who are sex workers, and he kills them by strangulation after he lures them into alleyways on the south and west sides of Chicago. The question right off the bat is this: why isn't this being discussed more? Because I'm guessing for many of you watching, this is your first time hearing of a guy who, to put it in perspective, may have killed 3 to 4 times more people than Jeffrey Dahmer. To properly dive into this, we assembled a cast of experts. First, Mike Hammond, a retired Chicago homicide detective who has put dozens of murderers behind bars in his career. Next, Thomas Hargrove, the founder of the Murder Accountability Project, an organization with the country's most complete accounting of unsolved murders, and Thomas is known as a guy that can algorithmically predict with a high degree of accuracy if a serial killer is in your city. Then we got Reverend Hood, a pastor and community leader who has built a network supporting survivors of strangler victims, and Reverend Hood claims to have sat face-to-face with the guy who is the primary suspect of this all. Next up, Rabbi Ben Yosef, a community activist demanding justice for the victims, who takes it upon himself to bring us to some of the murder sites. And finally, we even speak with a family member of a strangler victim and with Chicago citizens who live in the areas where the strangler strikes. Let's get to it.
You tell me nobody's faced this nigga yet? That's crazy. That's actually crazy.
We're going to meet a community leader who's been tracking down these murders, trying to bring justice to these victims and their families. In fact, we're very close to a murder site where a murder happened 20 years ago in this alley behind me, and we're going to look into that. How many of these murders are unsolved?
Pretty much all of them have been unsolved.
And how many are we talking?
We're talking 51 plus.
In 2004, Tamala Edwards was murdered right here in this alley. The killer strangled her, wrapped her up in a comforter that was then tightly bound with duct tape, and placed her in a garbage can, where she eventually was discovered. A lady by the name of Tamala Edwards was found in 2210 in a garbage can just like this in this alley 20 years ago.
Yep. The way how they murders happen is, as you just said, a graphic example of no regard for human life. To put a human life within a garbage can.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm going to do this to this person.
Stuffing their ass in the,
to show how horrific and how much an outcry and outrage there should be within this city.
You gonna make a song Starbad Chevelle die? I hope so, Shamar.
I think it's more than one.
You.
We believe that it's more than one strangler. I would have felt better if it was said mass murder, something to culminate that more than 51 women got killed.
There's certainly not one. We know that for sure. Because the 51, there's 21 different DNA profiles.
we found that the overwhelming majority of these homicides involved women who were strangled or asphyxiated, and their bodies were left out of doors, often in abandoned buildings, empty alleyways.
I think something happens to wake that demon up that's in their cranium. And once that demon is woken up...
It's funny, I talk about this a lot, chat. Like, what do you think just, like, possesses motherfuckers to, like, do crazy shit like that? Is this really just, like, a... Like, do you believe it's, like, demons and shit possessing a nigga body? I don't know, like, religious shit, but, like, you know, just, like... You know, some, like, demons and shit. Cause I'm a spiritual nigga. I believe in ghosts, energy, demons, all that shit, folks. On the gas. But, like, for real, though, like, do y'all think... Or do you think it's, like, just some, like, chemical balance of a motherfucker brain? Like, it's just... Motherfuckers be born and, like, this is just what they turn into. Like, there's really no big-ass explanation. It's just, like, some motherfuckers just born, they just be sick. Like, how can you look at yourself while you strangling the life out of somebody? Stuffing them in a garbage... Like, how can you, like I said, like, even with, like pedophiles and shit, I be, like, y'all know every time we watch, Gideon's, you know, Catch a Predator, whatever, folks. I always ask, like, folks, is there no, like, moral compass in your brain? You already know. I've heard worse shit. Me too, Smart. Y'all already know, like, how you have that little voice in your head that tells you not to do certain things. Like, you probably about to do some shit. It's probably gonna get you fucked up or whatever. You be like, nah, ooh, I shouldn't do that. Like, there's not a voice in your head, that little feeling like, no. Like, you just, no, let me just do this shit. Like, fuck it. Like, I'm feeling just... Nothing. Like, you don't feel no remorse, no feelings. You just go about your day-to-day life and just killing motherfuckers. Innocent motherfuckers. I don't get it. I really don't.
On the bench.
And I never will.
Killing women.
On the quest to build a profile of who this killer is, let's reference one of the most popular serial killer prediction frameworks, the McDonald Triad, created by psychiatrist John McDonald and used by famous serial killer hunters like Special Agent John Douglas. The three behaviors noted in this theory are obsessive fire setting, persistent bedwetting, and cruelty towards animals. This theory has faced pushback by researchers, but what it hones in on is the question on everyone's mind, which is if we can determine the common factors of serial killers, will we be better able to stop and apprehend serial killers before they go too far?
And they won't stop until that being in their brains settle down.
Like I said, I really wish there was a way where we could, like, scan humans or some shit to see if they are compatible with having a baby, as in, like, they could tell whether this baby's gonna be like a fucking psychopath ass, weird ass, like, just motherfucker. I really wish there was just a way we could do that. Be like, we could just scan both the man and women, see like, oh no, y'all shouldn't like, you know, have a kid because we just see y'all DNAs is most likely gonna make up a fucking, like, this nigga's gonna be a serial killer, this nigga gonna be this and that. And I really wish there was a way we could do that. I really wish. That's the scariest thing about having a kid. It's already scary having a kid, but the most scariest thing ever is, like, you don't know what your kid really is gonna be grow up. Like, you can raise them so well. They grow up nice, do their little thing, give them everything they want, you know, raising them, right? But they still grow up to just be a fucking loser ass, weird ass motherfucker. Like, think about that shit. Like, cause you'll think these motherfuckers, like, did they just have, cause, like, folks, I had a fucking rough ass upbringing. I know so many motherfuckers I grew up with who had like a messed up upbringing, you know? And they didn't turn into weird ass niggas, some serial killer terror, like, they didn't. Like I say, I really think that's just a brain thing. Like, it's just a brain diff. Like, it's just a really bad chemical balance.
Her life matters. That there should be closure for her. That she should not be silenced.
All as all these
that the
ladies
community should rally around her because her voice has been silenced.
It's very strange to be in a location, the exact location that you know someone lost their life in a struggle. You can say whatever you want about her occupation, but she was another human living life, trying to make money and trying to provide.
Yep.
And to end up in a garbage can is such a horrific way to go.
Disproportionately, these victims are sex workers or have a history of using illegal drugs.
We go to great lengths to bring you guys inside scoops on a story. How sketchy would you say this is?
I think Tommy G always about some sketchy.
Sketchy rating?
10.
Oh, like regular trap
So
house.
is it common in your world to hear women go missing?
Yeah, you hear stuff all the time, like
It's
this like 30-some-year-old white lady that they found on Lake Cook Road that was like 13 or 16 weeks pregnant.
As a woman, I don't know how the fuck you can go out there and prostitute yourself, know how dangerous
and then
that shit
it was
is.
2 weeks before that.
Man, we used to
somebody else
225
was
to start home
found
things.
near like 5th and Cicero.
So I think it's a serial killer killing them, right? I think they just don't be talking about it like that. People like body parts and stuff coming up. People be finding about a river. That shit is normal. So it's like, how the fuck is that normal?
He's got to be 45 to 65. He's definitely a city worker, you know, because he knows the neighborhoods. He knows where the whole stroll is. He knows where to dump these girls.
The whole time, what is this nigga? So imagine though, I'm not laughing at the situation getting lonely and see these beautiful women who unfortunately lost their lives to a fucking low life ass nigga, but to throw some humor in it, what is this nigga? Or one of them niggas in the house. And they still feel like, man, yeah, who could do some shit like that, man? I think he will probably do this, and I feel like he'll be living in his neighborhood. Well, I'll be sitting there like, damn, how do you, that sounds very detailed. How do you even know that? Whole time it's just this nigga. He's just like, shit. Oh, no.
What makes you say for sure city worker?
He understands what neighborhoods he can get away with it in and what neighborhoods he can't. And he knows how to move, and he knows probably when the police changes are, shift changes.
A lot of the people that get snatched up is like streetwalkers, right?
Yeah.
So what attracts a streetwalker faster? A white guy with some money, an older white man with some money. So it gotta be an older white male.
But he's also targeting girls that are just hooked on shit out here.
We asked a serial killer expert, and what he says, if you want to know the color of the killer, look at the color of the victim, and almost always it matches.
Our most likely scenario is that there's something like 3 multiple victim killers. 2 are African American and 1 is white.
And how do you know that?
It's what the evidence suggests. One of the victims had DNA at her crime scene that was recovered, and it matched another sexual assault. The victim survived and described a man who had a mustache and apparently a fake Hispanic accent, but was definitely Caucasian.
Have you ever experienced danger on the job?
Yeah, so white guy used to like back up and then literally he would make you take your shoes off and it would be like dead winter. Like you'll have no shoes in the middle of dead winter trying to like get away.
So it's a way to keep you under control in the car.
I guess so you can, yeah, exactly. So most lately the thing that a lot of people have been doing is having you get in the back seat and there's like the child safety lock will be on so you can't get out.
That's happened to you before?
Yeah.
Is that scary?
Yeah.
What do you do in that situation?
It's like your heart sinks, like you just get that feeling.
You're the highest risk profession for getting a serial killer.
Right.
What does that make you think?
It's a risk, but sometimes people are like, don't feel like they have a choice. So.
You have a choice, shorty. I promise you. Please go get yourself cleaned up. Go take a trade in school or some shit, shorty. You don't have to do this. Trust me, I understand.
Just on the alley over there, Makalova Williams was killed just down here. She was killed in 2004. Do you know anything about this particular killing or this particular victim?
Yeah, I do. Pretty sad story. She was in foster care most of her young life. It's alleged she was sexually abused in foster care. She would come back up here to Chicago, and then she's an 18-year-old on her own, and you know, she starts in on the streets, you know.
So many victims of sex trafficking, they left home. They were runaways who apparently thought that they had had enough.
Please, all my women, make sure y'all be carrying pipes and shit. Fuck a taser.
So this was 20 years ago. So this
like
may have
This door was open, and she was actually found in a bag, like a duffel bag, like a laundry bag. Almost impossible. You'd think looking at it, you get a body in there.
Continue to fight for you and stand with you. And we'll do whatever I can to make sure your name is not forgotten.
How do we bridge the gap that people want to work with police, people feel comfortable with police, police are more equipped to do their job? What do you guys think about some of those things?
I don't think there's a disregard for activists such as myself to work with detectives. I do work with detectives and police on these issues.
Will you be looked at as a snitch if you work with detectives and police?
Could be, but the fact is, my job is to bring justice. That's what we stand on.
Let's talk about why Chicago is the perfect hunting grounds for a serial killer to lurk. The truth is,
well, because Chicago, about like, I think, what, 70-something% of murders go unsolved in Iraq. That's the thing about Chicago, boy. We just... Because it's so, like, folk, if you killing a bunch of... Because, like, niggas be killing each other every day in Iraq, folk. Like, literally, folk, like, niggas kill each other every day in Iraq. Like, in the hood, that's so normalized. It's to a point where police will get called, like, oh, damn, black male shot. Oh, well, okay. Like, it's so normal. Like, it's just regular. Like, that's just another ass Susie. But it's different when that shit happened downtown, though, because, you know, that's where the folks is at, you know, if you catch my drift. See what I'm saying? There's a difference. But like, if you were like regular street nigga down the hood, like, dang, it's regular. Like, you feel me? They ain't feeling, oh my god, we gonna find this guy. No, they just like, all right, another nigga dead. Anyway, yeah, get his body, send him to the morgue. Anyway, back to the station. That's the thing about that, folks. That's the thing about that. That's why though, folks. That's just why. It's so many killings in the right, folks. It's hard to keep up with all that shit, folks. Like, you know what I mean, niggas, folk, in Iraq, they got like a bunch of fucking bodies and shit, folk. They haven't been caught for none of that shit. Easy to kill a motherfucker in Iraq.
Chicago has an unacceptably low homicide clearance rate. And for reference, a clearance rate refers to the percentage of criminal cases that are solved.
How would you rate?
See what I just said? That's the thing about my city, Iraq, folks. It's been like that for years. Like, it's so easy to kill a motherfucker in Iraq. Like, folks, if I'm in the street, boy, I go kill a nigga, and I do that shit right, folks, I'm not getting caught for that shit. I'm not. I'm like, not. It's just a normal ass day in Iraq. Oh, nigga just died. Oh, shit. Well,
the Chicago PD performance
crazy.
and finding the perp.
I think you're always trying to do your best, and you're trying to... No life has, to me and the people I worked with, no life has more or less value than another, because you're always talking to the victims' families, so you're trying to always do the best you can.
Historically, Chicago's homicide solve rate has been concerning. In 2016, the city reported a clearance rate of just 21%, which is much lower than the national average of 60% at that time. In other words, 80% of the time, the murderer gets away. That is insane.
Yeah, folks, that is crazy. That's all my Chicago motherfuckers, boy, us Chicagoans, boy, we know that, boy, us rack babies, like, yeah, that's just normal. Yeah, folks, 8% of murders in Chicago go unsolved. Think how scary that is. Because that's how many motherfuckers be dead. That's how many motherfuckers be getting clapped, folks. Niggas' dads is getting clapped every day in the rifle. You a street nigga, like, you die when you go kill a motherfucker. Yeah, there is a 85% chance you gonna get away with that shit. Shit, man, I was just say 90. There's a 90% chance you gonna get away with that shit. If you do everything right, gloves, Nike tag, mask on, don't bring your phones, you just bounce out on a nigga, clap him, boom, boom, whatever with the car, boom, you getting away with that shit. You getting away. Like, you dead getting away. You ain't getting caught with that shit. Don't talk to nobody, boom, you getting away. Fuck them. Crazy.
The cycle keeps getting worse and worse.
Worse, and it spans, and then we have another 20, 30 years in these cases are not getting solved because of distrust.
I don't see the Chicago Police Department doing anything really proactive, because policemen are just simply afraid that they're going to be prosecuted or thrown on a bus just for trying to do your job.
5,000 police investigations in Illinois are awaiting DNA test results. The backlog is huge, and today at a hearing, lawmakers demanded action on 50 unsolved strangulation cases that could be the work of a serial killer.
My theory is this: the Chicago Strangler has been able to remain undetected for so long because he operated in a perfect storm. First, his victims.
I'm sorry, Chad. I know I pause a lot. I'm a fucking yapper. I know. I'm sorry. But y'all know me. I have ADHD, and I'm like, I have to like just I have to just get these thoughts out, because if I just hold me, I just be Listen, one thing I hate though, I'm gonna make this quick, is that y'all really try to compare my nigga Vaughn to like a serial killer. Let me tell y'all niggas something. I really hate that bitch ass nigga that made that documentary on Vaughn, because that nigga dead ass fucked up Vaughn's like character. Because now people look at that nigga Vaughn like he was just like a fucking devil or some shit. But the whole time that nigga was just a regular ass Chicago street nigga like every other nigga. I mean, motherfuckers got multiple bodies more than Vaughn, but they just not famous for that shit. Vaughn got famous because it was right. It was just like, oh my god, he a killer, he a rapper, you feel me, from Iraq. But y'all make this nigga look like he was just out here just killing random ass motherfuckers. Nigga, no, he was clapping motherfuckers who killed his homies. That's it. Gang. Welcome to the street life. That's the side go. Yeah, they kill my homies. I'm killing their homies. It was literally back and forth. It was a war going on in the right, gang. You ain't hear about the Chicago drill war, that era? That's where I'm from. I grew up with that era. Motherfuckers was getting clapped 24/7.
Targets women in poor communities working vulnerable jobs like sex work. Sadly, the people he kills don't seem to generate the same uproar that a brutal murder of a suburban lady would. Next, he kills in neighborhoods that already have high crime, thereby allowing his crimes to blend in better due to the police being overloaded with cases to work. And finally, these neighborhoods are places where police trust is quite low, which leads to a general lack of collaboration of citizens willing to work with police and give them helpful information to help solve the crime. What do you guys think in the comments?
Have you ever been abducted?
Yeah.
What was that like? What happened?
So I guess there was like 3 brothers, and one of them kidnapped me and brought me back to like this house. I guess they were selling drugs out of it because they had like the windows boarded up and the door or whatever.
I've been in the motherfuckers.
Just kept me there. I was there 3 days, and just like the guy wouldn't leave, and I just had it like I couldn't leave. Like I think I got McDonald's like one time, so he ended up leaving, and the door guy or person, whoever was working the spot, I literally just like threw the board and went flying. He started chasing me. There's like ice, middle of winter, no shoes, went flying down the alley. There was this car coming down the alley with this lady, and I'm like screaming like help me or whatever, and she just like kept going. They don't care.
I thought that's fucked up, but that happens a lot in the hood, gang. Like if a motherfucker's screaming, it's late at night, help me, you not gonna let that motherfucker in your car. Sadly, gang, but like you gonna let that motherfucker in your car. You gonna be like, oh my god, what's wrong? Like you should. But for so much shit be happening in Chicago, like you don't trust nobody. You be like, hell no, get that shit away from me, folks. It's fucked up though. But I'm glad Shorty like escaped and survived that shit though.
Just leave the windows up, like.
3 months later.
We're gonna talk to family members of the victims. This is potentially a very painful moment for a lot of these people. I know when my pop died,
boy, what
I
the
didn't
fuck?
really
You like a totally different nigga
for a long time. And I was challenged by a mentor of mine to journal about it, write it down. It was a very painful process, but it also was very healing, revisiting the memories. And I think it was a big step in the recovery process of losing somebody. So I'm honored that they're telling us their story, because a lot of news outlets have reached out to them and they're talking to us. So I appreciate that. We're gonna go in and visit them, and we'll see you inside.
You know, I was involved in as far as from the homicide detective input thing, but the impact of the families, as Mike knows, he's
graduated,
and he's taking it to a whole nother level. But all detectives know we have to make those phone calls at 3 o'clock in the morning, and God bless you if you never had to make those calls or face-to-face, not even say calls, really face-to-face meetings.
I could imagine you have to call somebody about they
where you have to,
like
you know,
loved one or a friend or a son, whatever, daughter, like until you found them killed. Like,
can you imagine this young lady, how her life trajectory has changed, you know, not having her mother here,
knowing you have
since
to break bad news to people.
Meant the world to me. I love and I really miss my mom. It's more so in the back of my mind because I really don't try to think about it, because it's just too painful just knowing that it is someone out there possibly that's responsible for the death of my mom, and also 50 other women. I want her to be remembered as a loving, caring, free spirit, very fun to be around person that loves her children.
Why do you think they specifically targeted your mom?
I think she was just at the wrong place at that time. She was probably stalked and watched. It was a familiar place, and I feel like, you know, they knew her or seen her there before, so it's a possibility. They feel like, you know, she was some type of target, so yeah, I think that's why.
What are the consistencies among the victims that the Chicago Strangler is known for?
Definitely strangulation. They have been known for body parts missing, torsos. On the west side of Chicago, it was in a 2-mile radius of victims he killed. On the south side of Chicago, it could be up to 3 to 4 miles. South side of Chicago is a lot bigger, and we believe the number was a lot higher. on the south side of Chicago, because you're like, this guy here.
I'm from the south side, it's the best side in Chicago.
Or somebody that was a professional known in the community to get away with something, like a teacher or, you know, something of that sort that's been known in the community. That's what gets me when I look at those deaths. So this person is methodical, and any gaps makes me think he was either in jail or the hospital.
Serial killers should never be off the streets. They all should be locked up and the key thrown away. Facts. I don't think that there's no help for them. Teeny weeny component of a cell is buried in their crania, and it is not going to go away unless there's some type of surgery that can be performed.
I was just talking about shit like that.
Is there one of these killers that you think is doing the lion's share of the killing?
Yes, Darren Dion Vaughn.
Darren Dion Van shocked the nation in 2014 when police arrested him for the murder of Africa Hardy in Hammond, Indiana. But what began as a single case quickly unfolded into something much darker. Van confessed to killing at least 6 more women, leading investigators to his victims' remains in abandoned homes across Gary, Indiana, thereby earning him the nickname of the Gary Strangler. But is it possible that Darren could also be the Chicago Strangler? In his confession, Van hinted that he had been killing for nearly 20 years and his style of killing matches with the MO of the Chicago Strangler. Many experts, like Thomas Hargrove, think that Darren could very well be responsible. Because many of the Chicago murders are near the train line, it's easy to imagine Darren boarding the train from Gary, getting out at a Chicago stop on the south and west side, giving into his killing impulse, then returning home to Gary. What's more is in his confession interviews with the police, Van claims to have victims across multiple states.
And Darren Vaughn told police in Hammond, Indiana, he's made a lot of mistakes.
4 or 5 in California. How many in North Carolina? 1, because I ain't stayed long. Texas, I think there's 2. At least 2 in Milwaukee. And there's 3 in Minnesota. I'll say about 7 in Detroit.
Damn.
How many in Chicago? Chicago is a lot.
One of the goals of setting out to do this was to try and solve some of these murders. And so with many of the fingers pointing towards Darren Dion Van, we sent him a letter and we reached out to the Indiana Department of Corrections portal in attempts to reach him. Now we have no idea if the letter that we sent to Wabash Correctional to Darren made it to him. Maybe it didn't make it past security. So we're still waiting for a response so that we can pursue those leads further.
A theory of why Darren's claims of killing more women wasn't explored further is that Indiana investigators wanted to lock him away with certainty rather than complicate his case by making it federal. However, experts like Detective Mike Hammond would argue that Darren could not have possibly killed all these women. The Chicago Strangler is thought to have killed till 2018, and Darren, arrested in 2014, was already locked away in prison. And secondly, because of the multitude of DNA samples found in the victims, leading Mike to think that we are dealing with multiple killers. The problem is, with many of the victims being prostitutes, being found with multiple DNA samples is to be expected and just further complicates tracking down the killer.
You had a conversation with Darren Dion Van, who some say is the Chicago Strangler, or one of the guys responsible for most of the bodies. Tell me about your conversation with him.
He had no problem with talking about the girls he killed in Gary, Indiana, which is exactly 40 minutes from here.
Yep.
Gary, Indiana is across the street, basically, right?
Pretty much, that's what I said.
When he talked about
neighbors,
Chicago, he said
right
he killed so many he can't remember. And to look at this man, this young man in his face, that was part of the armed services, that looked like he wouldn't even swat a fly, to tell you he don't know how many people he killed, it's sickening. And it hits me to the gut.
That means you lost count.
We're talking about 51. I know it's more than 85. There's no connection to all 85, but there's still 85 women that's being killed in Chicago.
We first detected him in Gary, Indiana, where he had was responsible for most of a cluster of 15 murders of women. And then the algorithm signaled that there was a very similar
my sister said that nigga
cluster occurring in Chicago, a much larger cluster.
No, wait.
And those, the Gary, Indiana murders go back to the 90s.
They got lazy out. That shit going that way.
The cluster in Chicago started around 2001, and we think that's when Mr. Vaughn discovered the joys of public transit. We think he took the Chicago Transit Green Line into the city when he had what he called killing urges. Produced a map showing the body recovery sites of these 51, And you'll see a linear pattern of 9 or so victims that occurred right along the green line. He has been killing his whole adult life,
what's it
he
called?
has a difficult time establishing normal relations with women. He speaks to getting killing urges. In fact, you can see his confession at our website. When he gets killing urges, he can't afford his own home, so he was living with his brother and his brother's family. When he would get killing urges, he had to leave. He couldn't stay in the home and possibly harm members of his own family, so he would leave. He would walk around Gary, Indiana, or he would go further afoot. It was a very random murder. They were grabbed and usually killed close to where their bodies were found. Nothing very sophisticated in these murders, just opportunistic.
How sure are you that Darren Dion Van has claimed lives in Chicago?
Look at him straight in his eye. He's not lying. He killed so many women, he don't know how many. Now, do I think he killed all 51? No.
It would be nice to point the finger at Darren Dion Van, accuse him to be the likely suspect of all these murders, get some closure and move on. However, it is impossible that Darren did all these murders. There were 5 murders that happened between 2004 and 2005 that he couldn't have done because he was serving time in an Indiana jail. What he did was, in front of police, he threatened to kill his girlfriend by holding a gas can and lighter in one arm while the other arm was around her neck. There are an additional 5 murders from 2009 and 2013 that he couldn't have done because he was serving a 5-year prison sentence in Texas for a brutal sexual assault. So there are at least 10 murders from this period that Darren could not have done. This further supports Detective Hammond and Thomas Hargrove's theory that there are multiple killers involved, but unfortunately, it also further complicates this deadly mystery.
When was the last time you were contacted by police regarding your mother's death?
I was never contacted. They contacted my grandmother one time, and it was for identification purposes. When I got older, I contacted them, and they didn't even know anything. They barely knew who she was, and said like, "Oh, the case is the file. We delete the files or something like that, or they don't carry the files."
What does that make you think?
They just don't care.
Yeah, CPD boy, they
complex case. I mean, she was found somewhere where she stayed, where she frequently visited and hung out at. So I mean, I don't feel like it should have been hard to find out. You know what I'm saying? Who done it? At least like gather some type of information as to what happened.
So some of the comments I've gotten is if all the victims were white ladies that were accountants or middle class, that the murders would already been solved right now. But because a lot of the women are black women, minority women that are working the streets, no one cares, the cops aren't going to bother. What do you feel about that?
Yeah, so in general, Chicago is pretty low on their success rate of solving any kind of murder. It's like 20 or 30%. It's really low. I don't think it's necessarily what color you are. It's just that they know that a lot of those people have like left their homes or whatever. Their families used to them going on binges, missing, you know, so no one will be exactly looking for them right away.
So no one's really sure where they are anyways.
Yeah, and like a lot of people don't have families, so if they were to die, who's gonna know anyway?
Is there a thought that your mom was got by the Chicago Strangler?
Part of me yes and no. Like a part of me feel like maybe it could have been somebody she knew, and then a part of me feel like it could have been a serial killer, Chicago Strangler.
So we've heard about the crimes Darren may have committed, but what do we know about who this guy is? Little about his childhood is known other than he grew up in Indiana, and in 1991 he enlisted in the Marine Corps but received an other than honorable discharge after only 2 years in the service. The specific reasons for his discharge have not been publicly disclosed. What we do know about Darren is this: he has a notable criminal background. However, there is something potentially disturbing that we uncovered. According to a confidential source, he has been arrested over 75 times. However, most of his rap sheet has been redacted. Why? With guys like Jeffrey Dahmer and Ted Bundy, we have enough information about them to make a Netflix series. But when it comes to Darren, there's barely any information out on his past on the internet, and what is documented has been censored. Why?
What were her injuries? Was she shot?
No, she was strangled and just beat up real bad to the point where it damaged her brain severely. She was on life support for 2 years before my grandfather decided to pull the plug.
I can't imagine what that's like going into a room with a family member that you love. They're disfigured, they're beaten up, and having to...
Damn, shorty. I'm so fucking sorry.
Kiana, so does this alley look familiar to you?
Yeah, it does.
And what's going through your head right now?
Just memories and stuff with my mom. These are my last memories with her. We used to stay down here and go to the grocery store across the street.
So you used to live close by?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess what's running through your guys' heads right now?
So I'm looking from a cold case perspective. What year would have been? What year was it?
99.
99.
Yeah.
So, you know, several time ago. So much of this has changed. I can see now about 10 video cameras. Probably weren't here at the time. There are probably buildings that were here, right, that were multi-unit buildings. So I want to know if I could go back and find out what buildings were there, were they multi-unit buildings, who lived there, and you can do that. It's a lot of work, but it can be done. You know, I'd be really wanting to look at the specifics of where she was discovered exactly, like within as many feet as I can, and things like that. So this is a tough place because it's pretty desolate.
2 questions. One for each of you is, at any given time, how many murders could a homicide detective be looking at once?
It varied from 13 to 25, 30 at times. But then, you know, because I worked on a cold case, I would take on a lot of cases.
Yeah. So there is a perception that if you're poor or if you're black, that the police don't care as much about the murder. As a black detective, can you give the other side of the table?
Yeah, well, I get the other side of the table, and some of that is accurate, you know. So I'm not here, you know. I mean, I love the police department, you know. I mean, it's gas, but I tell people all the time, but I'm not a spokesman for the police department. I mean, you know, there's some dog asses on the police department, some dog asses at the post office why you didn't get your mail on time, you know. That exists in every line of work. The police just seem to be highlighted and spotlighted more and stuff, obviously, and you know, for good reason in some cases.
I mean, does it kind of blow your mind that someone could potentially get away with killing 50, 60, 70 women and not get caught?
Yeah, it saddens me because it's like, how can you take a job and, you know, say not even care about doing it properly, and especially when it comes to, you know, human life and women.
If you could say a message to the Chicago Police Department, what would you tell them?
I would just tell them, like, if it's possible, take a second, you know, look, you know, I know you got other things going on and other things that you do, but this is just important.
If you could sit across from the strangler, what would you say to the guy?
Yeah, I would just ask, like, why? Like, took my mom away, like, and it's crazy asking that because it reminded me of a conversation I had with my dad when I was younger. Do the person, you know, you feel like the person who did it, you know, do they deserve to die or whatever? And I was telling him, like, no, I don't feel like, you know, they deserve to die or whatever. And, you know, I was young back then.
You better than me, because if a nigga kill my mom and I see you face to face, I'm gonna do worse than just killing you. Oh my God, nigga, I'm torturing your ass slowly for a whole week. I'm gonna make sure your ass be alive for a whole week as I torture you. Fuck you talking about. Play with me if you want to in DCA. Okay, we nice over here, chat.
And stuff like that, but I, you know, now that I'm older, you know, adult, you know, I kind of still feel the same way, you know.
Did listening to detectives talk today change your perception at all?
Yeah, I know they have a hard job to do, but, you know, I just still can't, I still hold resentment towards them or whatever because it is my mom, and I feel like they didn't do everything they could have done to try to solve the case, and I feel like the case wasn't too complex. It was things that I feel like that could have been done that wasn't done, like, and I feel like they didn't care because of race. And
do you think closure would make you feel better?
Yes, closure would definitely make me feel better. It won't bring justice because my mom isn't here, but definitely just knowing, you know, what happened and why, you know, it happened and why they did this. Even if they say like, oh, I did it because I was high or something. You know, I'll take that. I'd rather, you know what I'm saying, have, you know what I'm saying, partially something on the plate than nothing at all, you know.
Folks, the reality is there are still many cases, upwards of 50 to 70 women, that have not been solved. And our goal is to bring some closure to these cases. So if you have any connections to the Indiana Department of Corrections or ways of speaking to Darren Dion Van or know anything about these murders that might help solve them, please reach out to me at TommyGMcGee123@gmail.com, because our goal is to help these cases become solved. And perhaps with you, the audience, we can crowdsource this happening. So email me, reach out if you have any leads. Thank you for joining me on this episode, and see you next week.
Man, folks, long live all those women, man. Long live all those women. It's unfortunate that shit like that has to be happening and shit, folks. Like, from just loser ass, bum ass niggas. Damn, man. Damn. It's unfortunate, chat. It really is. My mama think I'm gay. That, well, what? I mean, shit, I don't blame her. That's bad to think that nigga like African. Them mamas don't be playing that shit, for great. They not be playing that shit. I'm be real. They don't. Oh, shit, I'm still fucking recording. Oh, fuck. Oh, shit, that's awkward.